Back. Random Joe Gamer, hello. Let me know how the audio quality is now. I just did a full reset, and then we'll see if this fixes it. Hopefully it does. Maybe also check one thing here. Yeah, I think that set up correctly. Either way, we'll find out soon. Audio is much better. Great to hear. I switched to like 2 or 3 things at once, so I'll have to test this out on my own because too many variables moved all at the same time, so that's not great. But oh well. At least it's working. But happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope October is going well for everybody. It is the 8th of the month, so that's good. Yeah, and I'm also glad audio is back up. It's been a weird month so far. It's been very slow. So I mean, I don't know how many of the rest of you have current Etsy accounts, but it has been like not entirely dead, but it feels like when October 1st hit, like there was a switch that got flipped and sales have been kind of wonky. So I've been a little like out of sorts, I suppose, in terms of like business wise. Which I'm sure I'll talk about in an upcoming video. Also, why a video didn't come out this past weekend. So trying to figure out, what to do about sales. Clearly, that's a top priority going into the next months. And then also, I've been spending some of the time actually working on learning more CAD. So that's great. I've been experimenting with a couple different CAD options. I know a lot of people have talked about plasticity as being an option, and then also FreeCAD kind of in there as well. Hey Tom, how's it going? Glad you could join today. And I've been spending more of my time in FreeCAD. Plasticity is cool, which I'm more than happy to get into a little bit, but I've had a hard time with plasticity because my brain just wants to use very physical dimensions, like really precise measurements on things. And being able to prevent myself from changing to measurements when I don't want to. And I find that plasticity and Blender are like really too easy to accidentally mess something up. Whereas the other programs, you have to spend a little bit of extra time to actually manipulate the dimensions of something or pull or push. So I think part of it, specifically with plasticity, it is definitely a learning curve. I think I can probably do what I want in plasticity. And I'm sure if I knew more about it, I could maybe do it as quickly. But I have an example to show everybody of why I like parametric modeling specifically. And I keep using the word specifically. I don't know why. I should get a coin jar because it must be my word of the day or something. Let's look for a couple things here. Fred, you said my sales have picked up on Etsy and Amazon. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing then. So that's, I don't know, kind of weird. But let's go here and run through some of these questions. DeWitt, 3D Laser, great afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Okay, this one, let's see if I can pronounce it. Hold on. I don't know if like I can increase the size of this text. That's better. Lazo says, a bit off topic, but when do I start a legal business? Start a legal business selling 3D printed stuff. So I'm assuming what you're saying is, when do I file for all of my legal stuff business-wise when selling 3D printed products? And the answer is, when you get to it, you can technically make, at least in the US, you can make money on the side. So like if you sold stuff at a garage sale, I think technically you're supposed to say that you made income from any source, and then you would just get taxed on that during tax season. So that's kind of the way it works. If you sell stuff on Etsy throughout the year by yourself and you don't actually have a business set up, you can do that. You just have to tell the government you made money and then they tax you on it. But that's not going to get you the best tax rate. So you're going to want to eventually set up an LLC, which allows you to get a sole proprietorship is how I have mine set up, and that gives you pass-through tax. It's different in every state. I'm not a lawyer. I'm definitely not an accountant. Like, should I say I'm definitely not a lawyer either. So definitely connect with somebody who can tell you that. If you are getting into like business stuff, you're going to want to have an accountant. You're going to want to have a lawyer. And that's coming from someone who doesn't necessarily have either of those things set up for myself yet. I need to get an accountant for this coming year. But anyway, don't let it stop you from selling, I guess is the short answer, because I just can't answer anything quickly. Meath MJ, thank you for the $100. That's crazy. Appreciate that. Is that $100 or like 100? What is that? It's like, I think it's 100 something. There's a little symbol next to it. But thank you. I don't know what that is. Is it actually dollars? See, this is how much I use. I don't even put goals or anything. I don't follow all of like the YouTube, here's how you can like energize your brand kind of stuff on these live streams. But all right, next question is the Forge Tech. Do you have any tips on learning CAD? I do, and we're actually going to do some CAD today. I kind of listened to everybody from my last talk about how embarrassing it would be to model in front of everybody. But it sounds like people are interested, so we're gonna do it. Oh, thank you, Stevie. It is Indian rupees. Well, I appreciate that. It's super cool. I should probably do flashcards for all of the different currency symbols. Next question, Tom says, glad you mentioned that about Etsy. I was going to ask, how do you get your products started and tips and how to generate ideas? So I guess here's one idea, which I'm going to show a little bit in one of my modeling programs. A lot of my ideas come from problems I have, and something I've been, I guess, struggling with. This has been more of like something I've been trying to figure out for my personal life over the last 2 or 3 years, and it is how much time do I spend digitally versus how much time do I spend in the physical world. And I have some pretty cool journals. I think I've got one right here actually that I was doing. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Zettelkasten system. It's a way and a form of indexing your notes. Where's my journal, everyone? Oh, it's on the bottom. It's a way of indexing your notes that you take to create kind of like a mind map for yourself. So that way you can like pull information out of your system and digest it later. Maybe like one day I'll put a link to the actual white paper from the guy who invented it. And it's pretty crazy. It's a cool way to physically store all of your thoughts. And I guess I don't have it here. Unless one more spot that it could be. Nope. All right, that's okay. I'll figure that out later. But there's a lot of value into physically writing things down with pencil or pen and paper versus typing it. And I find that as much as I like to use my computer, and I really like technology. If you knew me in my personal life, you'd probably say he really likes gadgets, which I suppose I do. But as much as I use them, I feel just equally about as lost on what I've done. And that, I think, is one reason I like 3D printing and why I kind of got drawn to making physical products versus continuing to try to make digital businesses, because I like the tangibility of what I do, so I can see the output of my work in the physical world. And what I've been struggling with over the past several years is how do I and where should I spend my time making things? This is my long-winded answer, because I guess everything has to be a story about how I do that. And I really like little moleskins. So like here's an example, and I'll show this in CAD today to give you guys some example of why I choose and which modeling software I choose. That allows me to store all of my little notebooks. And I have different things in these, but the plan for next year is to use this as a note-taking system where I can write every day. And I'm going to be trialing it for the next 3 months here with these black notebooks for the end of the year. And this will be one notebook for every month of the year. And I'll keep them in here. I'll have all of them loaded up at the beginning, and then each month I'll pull out, the first one will be January. And I'll be able to write, and then when I need to go back, I can just pull it out. And I think the ease of access of information and basically my brain on paper in this way is really cool. And then pairing it with the Zettelkasten system. Sorry, everybody, I just spilled my coffee. Which is this, which I'm not going to go through all today, allows you to like basically pull out your thoughts and then lay them out on a table and make connections. And that goes to the brainstorming question that everybody had, or not everybody, but one person had, which was how do I generate ideas? And this is an idea that I had. This is not the final version, but this will be something I'm probably going to design and sell, or some solutions around this. based on how I use it. So, right, I'm designing and coming up with ideas through my personal experience. And I think that makes the products better, right? I'm not just looking at somebody else's ideas where they've put all the thought into why it's made a certain way. I'm having a problem and some type of solution. How can I make my note taking easier and more accessible and ready to go at all times? Have it in a spot where I know it's going to be, and if it's not there, then that's a problem. So that's my storage place, kind of like where you put your car keys when you come inside the house. And then how do I make that aesthetically pleasing? And that's what I'm coming up with. So that's kind of like how my brain, like where my brain goes when coming up with ideas. Tom, I know you've already seen it and you have access to it, but I'm going to just plug again on my Patreon. You can buy for $5 or you can get access to it. It's a worksheet I have on there, which goes through some of those questions and more on how to generate ideas for yourself for 3D printing. And specifically, if you're doing it for a business purpose, I mean, don't sign up or don't buy the worksheet if you're just trying to come up with ideas, because that worksheet is really focused on how do you come up with ideas to then sell. Okay, next one is Jason Thomas, tips on learning CAD, just do it. Yeah, I give the just do it advice a lot, but we will go through some actual things you can do. Stevie Wonder Kid says, noticed a drop in sales for my stores too. I think it's because people are waiting for the end of the month Black Friday discounts before holiday spending kicks into higher gear. Yeah, I think so. And at the beginning of the month, I actually noticed that my shop was, what do you call it? It was actually like pacing above this time last year, even though I felt it was really slow. So I don't know yet. I think I'm just kind of like, I really want things to be moving faster, which just means I need to put more work in. But all that to say is it's retail. And my wife always reminds me that even when she worked retail for local retail way back in the day, it's like many years ago, it would be days where it would be like zero sales for several days. And that's just normal. And it is coming into Christmas season. MK98, hello, welcome to the stream. Meath says, how do you photograph or present your prints online for selling? So the way I like to do it is I like to actually print them off and then photograph them. I use the camera that I'm doing my live stream on today for my photographs, but you can also just use a phone if you have a phone. Most phones nowadays have very good cameras that will get you a good enough resolution. So you shouldn't have to worry about that. The biggest thing that's going to be important is your lighting. Like for instance, I think I have good lighting on these live streams, and as because I'm using one big light, this is what it would look like with just a little desk light. Some of these other small lights that I have around my shop, because they kind of, I don't know, they give a nice warm glow. This is just my computer monitor here, but with one big softbox, I can really turn the space and make it look nicer. I always get the RGB ones that are made for video because it just gives you more options on the range of things you can do with it. And they're not super expensive nowadays. It's a little bit of a gilded way to put it, but like if you're investing for a business and you plan to use it for many years to come, they've come way down in price compared to what they were, I don't know, 5 or so years ago. So that's kind of cool. Okay, next one is Ahmad Sita. I hope I pronounced that right. Hello, welcome. Do you have any experience or tips on selling printed items to local stores instead of online? And the answer is no. I have actually dropped in to a few stores locally, kind of showed them some of my stuff. And I think I'll be doing more of that. I'm in the midst of trying to get in with my local farmers market. We have a really, really big one. Actually, the biggest, I don't know if it's the biggest. We have a really big one nearby that would work well. And they have a few like holiday themed or like Christmas, Black Friday type events they do for makers. And I think that would be a great space to be in. So I've applied. Hopefully I get accepted. Next year, I really need to make a list of when I need to apply. And I should be doing a lot of that going forward. But it's a little bit different. I have had some people say like, Do you have like a SKU for your thing or like a barcode because they need to like scan it into their system and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, no, like I've got this product. I'm basically willing to do it on consignment where I'll give you inventory and then we can split profit 50-50. But they're like, well, we want to, I've had some pushback and say, well, we would do 60-40. And I'm like, I guess, but you're not buying any of the inventory. So I don't know. I guess there's just some negotiations there. I do think it's not been the smoothest experience in my opinion so far, but that's about it. Okay, next question is Kaz. Handwriting is amazing. It's so nice to remove oneself from digital distractions and focus entirely doing one thing. 100%. I'm a big fan of, and I haven't done it in a while, but leading up to the birth of my daughter, I spent a lot of time, and actually right after that, spent a lot of time doing solo role-playing games. The big one was I was doing Shadow Dark solo. I have Knave, Cyborg, Morkborg, Pirateborg, but really Shadow Dark was kind of the big one. And yeah, doing it solo, so just journaling about it, and that was nice. And it would be nice to get back to that. I've just been so distracted. There's a lot of things going on in the world. Don't watch the news too much, people. I feel like just no matter where you are, I feel like the news is just in general a depressing thing to look at. I think there's one news place that says like good news. Like, I think it might be called Good News. I should probably sign up for that to get some emails from them. But anyway, it's just easy to get like distracted on stuff. So and then not getting sales like compounds that issue. But yeah, getting away, getting distraction free. Let's see, this is a project book. I have one of these as a doodle book. So like here's a little journal, like a little doodle book that I'll take with me when I'm camping. Do like some notes. I'm so bad at drawing people. I'm actually like enjoy doing more like this kind of stuff. Oh, here we go. These ones are kind of fun. But yeah, like this kind of stuff is just a little therapeutic and is cool to do. But it does help you on your design side too. So like if you really are interested in designing, being able to conceptualize what you're thinking about and then doing the CAD, I think is important. I'm very quick to just jump into CAD and start designing things. And then I realize that I shouldn't have done that. I should have spent some extra time thinking about what I want to do, doing some sketches, just figuring out those basic forms, and then diving into my software to actually do the work. And and specifically with parametric, which we'll get to a little bit later, that has been important because with parametric software, if you do all the work, it's quick to make things relatively, but it's a lot of work to redo it all, I suppose, if you don't set it up correctly the first time. You have to be more intentional with each step, whereas something like Blender or plasticity, I think you can just kind of like get after it really quickly and then quickly change things. But then once they're fixed, you have to do a lot more work to go back and redo the whole piece. Okay, next one is MK98 says, just started Etsy about a month ago and not getting any luck on views. Any advice? Patience, my friend, and run ads. Those are my two. I've been feeling impatient with one of my shops that I started recently. I think I am in month 2 of that shop being open. All of the sales except for one that I've received were from my friends and family round. And I have like almost 30 5-star reviews and 48 sales on that shop, but I'm still waiting on it to gain traction in the algorithm. And actually, let me check here. Yesterday was the first day that I was really gaining some major traction, and most of the traffic was coming in from advertising. So run the Etsy ads once you're able to. I think that's going to be really really important. So like just for an example, over the past 30 days on that shop, and this is with ads on, so I think some of it just takes time to for your store to get indexed in their search algorithm and then picked up and whatnot. But I've been getting like less than 5 clicks onto the store per day, some with 0. Man, 5 is generous. There's been a couple like days with 5 in the last 30 days, but mostly 3 or below. Like it's just not getting traction at all. Probably you'll see what similar to what you're experiencing. And then all of a sudden, in the last like since October 6th, 18 on October 6th, 17 on October 7th, and so far today, and the data is not up to date, 5 clicks. So I am seeing the return now. It's just a matter of, will I start to see the sales? So one additional thing that you can do is if you're really struggling and not seeing any traction on the site, think about what you've done on your listings and consider trying something different. So for my example, which I think I talked about last week on the stream, that shop, I sell products in a collection. So you might have like 5 to 10 different options for, like, let's say a Halloween decorations. I was selling each one of those decorations as a individual product listing with its own photos. And then the last photo in each one of those listings was a picture of the whole collection, all 5 to 10 products. What I did was I didn't fully change, I added listings in that were a picture of the whole collection, and then you could use the selector to go and pick what you want. And what I am seeing is that the click-through rate and the amount of clicks on the collections versus the other types of listings is way higher. So what I'd say is, for me, I found that people want to see all of them together to see their options and then go through and potentially buy. So now I'm just waiting on when can I get some sales from it. And I think it's just more of getting eyeballs on my products. Anyway, that's again the long answer. I hope that helps. Try something new is usually a good idea. Meath says, did you have any issues on copyright even though it was not copied? I would love to know what you mean by that. I don't have issues with copyright because all of my products and photos are 100% original. They're all my own designs, all my own photography, all my own listings. So I don't have any issues with copyright or anything because it's all my own. Okay, next one is Marshall Hampton says, I have a Bamboo P1S and every time I print anything, it always messes up and ends up looking like a wadded ball of yarn. I'm still fairly new to all of this. I would love to say I can diagnose it for you from here, but it's just not going to be doable. What it sounds like is you're getting an issue with a bed adhesion, where if it's not sticking correctly to the bed, you're having issues there. Let me actually stand up and give you guys a quick rundown. So I had to repair one of my printers. It was doing the same exact thing, but doesn't mean we had the same problem. And my go-to solution, sorry, I have like a box of filament sitting here that I haven't put away yet, but my thing when I have a printer issue is I rush to like just do things to try to fix it, and that's generally a bad idea. I always end up in a situation where I do too many things and I don't know what I'm trying to solve for. So I wanted to create like a list of kind of what you should start with when you're experiencing 3D printer problems. The first thing you should do is look at your nozzle. They come with, at least the Bamboos do, a little tool to jam up into the nozzle in case there's a clog. So you'll want to heat up your nozzle, and then you'll want to get that little wire thing out. Looks like a needle, essentially. Don't poke yourself with it. It's sharp. Heat it up to 250 manually, and then stick that up there, and then try to click the extrude button and see if it will squirt some of the filament out. If that works, it could be just a nozzle clog. I actually found out that that was probably my issue recently, and I did all these other things before that. So start with the nozzle clog. The second thing you should do is change the filament. So if that still doesn't work, maybe you have like just a bad batch of filament. Maybe it's too wet, or you have, there could be a whole slew of issues. Open a new thing of filament and try that out to see if it was the filament. The next thing you should check is the AMS unit. If you're using a multi-material unit, take that off, unplug it, and put the filament in directly into the printer as an individual spool and test to see if you still have the problem. If you don't, that means your AMS is the root cause of the problem, and you can start looking at some other things regarding the AMS. But we're trying to eliminate variables. The next thing you want to check is the PTFE tubes. Kind of like inspect them all. Sometimes they have wear on the inside, so you might have to disconnect them and look at the ends. If any of them look not circular because they've been worn out, just change out the PTFE tube. That could help. And the last thing is, if that ultimately doesn't work, you might have to disassemble the extruder and kind of like get into the machine and see if it's like tearing up the filament or whatever it could be. But that's kind of my list. Nozzle clog, change the filament, eliminate the multi-material system or AMS for bamboo, check your PTFE tubes, and then if all else fails, disassemble the extruder to see what the issue is. Okay, Casper, hello. I'll get to your question in a little bit, but we're going in order here. Hit the mark. Can you recommend a beginner 3D modeling course or book to learn? I would actually stay away from the books. As much as I like the physical world, when it comes to 3D modeling, I don't actually think a book is super useful. So I would more follow a YouTube tutorial, and I don't know of any off the top of my head to follow, but I can get into some 3D modeling stuff here in a minute. It's already 3:30, so I should do that soon. RP Studio, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Juan says, do you have any tips on how to improve social media for my 3D printing business? Greetings from Argentina. That's a broad question. There's a lot of things you can do. I think the big one is, man, I guess it depends on what angle you're going to. What you just asked is something I'm trying to figure out for my own stores as well. So I don't have like a super clear answer for you. Be authentic with what you do. And what I mean by authentic is be honest. Like, don't chase trends unless your business, I guess, is making trend products. But generally, if you're chasing a trend, you're always behind it. So you're going to be the last one to make the money on the trend before the next one kicks off. It's better to pick a lane that you like and stick in that lane. That's going to be more consistent over the long run than just trying to hop on a bandwagon. But if you can find something you like, be honest and authentic with your content. And always be funny. One of my YouTube videos or shorts that I put out for this channel got a ton of views. It had over 1 million views on a short. By far the most views I've ever had on any single video. And I was like, I was dissecting it. What was the thing that made this different? And I've tried to replicate that storytelling in different videos, and I've not received the same push from YouTube to share that with people. For some reason, that one just clicked. But what I will say is, I was accidentally a little edgy in that. I used the word kink talking about the filament, how it's bent when you get a refill spool. And I was like, I wonder if people, because I got a lot of comments about the word kink, like, oh, you like how filament is kinky or something like that. I think that being edgy without being inappropriate has some humor in it. So if you can do it in a way that's not I don't even know the words for it. This is where a writer would be helpful, but I think you get what I'm saying. Having some humor in your content can be good. I did that accidentally. I guess that's just because of where I live. Maybe we use that word around here more. I don't know. It's like soda and pop. But then the last piece would be experiment. That's what I'm doing with my content, is really trying to figure out what I should do and what will work for my promotion of products. Just quick question. Does everybody like my long rambling answers? Sometimes I finish my answering a question and I go, I talked about that for 3 minutes straight. Anyway, I think people like it. Everybody's still here for the most part. Okay, next question. Oracle actually says 2 questions. Hope you don't mind me asking you 2 questions. I totally do, by the way. No, I'm all good. Do you have a YouTube channel or a website you can recommend for starting Etsy? And do you stock any items for sale, or is it all based on orders? Do you have a YouTube channel or website you can recommend for starting Etsy? My YouTube channel. You could follow my channel for starting a an Etsy account. Really, when it comes to Etsy, I would say, which may be obnoxious advice, just set up an account and test it out. If you have the $20 to set up the account and you plan on selling, it's well worth it. Out of all the platforms that I have sold on, Etsy is by far the easiest to get started on because they've done such a good job on the back end of the store. It doesn't mean you're going to get sales, but it is so much easier to use across the board. So much easier to use than eBay, than Amazon, and then even easier than your own website like Shopify, because Shopify is completely different. It's not a platform. It's not an e-commerce platform that already has customers and is its own like ecosystem. You are building a website. That's what Shopify is. So if you want to dive into Shopify, you're going to be watching completely different tutorials than you would be with Etsy. But Etsy you can probably figure out if you just jump in. The second question is, do I stock any items? Yes, I do stock some items, not a lot, but I have certain items that when I very first started out, I would have like a little, let me see if I can find something here. I have most of my stuff printed out, but anyway. This guy, it's not assembled yet, but this is one of the products for my partner and I. But anyway, let's pretend this little thing, right? If I started out brand new product, have no idea how it's going to perform, I just like it and I made it, I would just upload this, and then when you get an order, print one off. It's not very efficient technically on the printer side because you can print way more of these on an individual printer than because the bed is way bigger than this. So at the beginning, you're going to be less efficient. But as you start to understand what products sell, what I would do is take advantage of the printer's capacity and load up the build plate and print off a plate of them. So that's something I would look at doing in the future. And then inherently, because of that, you might only receive one order, but you'll have, I don't know, a whole bunch of them because you printed a whole plate full, and you'll have some stock ready to go. I'm also getting set up for Amazon. No one's asked me yet, but yes, I am working on Amazon. I'm halfway done. I'm having issues because I need to send in photos of to get a brand approval, even though it's not trademark brand, but get a brand approval. You have to send in photos with like packaging and your logo on it. Well, I just decided to launch a store without figuring any of that out and said when I get a sale, I'll figure out the packaging. And well, now I need to figure it out because Amazon requires it before I'm even able to list the product. So that's been tricky. And so I've been getting some of that queued up. And then in the process, I'm going to do Fulfilled by Amazon and test that out. But I need to send in like 100 units. So I've been printing off plates of those products. I'm starting off with my small ones that I can print like 15 on a plate. And then I will send them over to Amazon. But they'll be hopefully done in the next week or 2 weeks here. And I can let everybody know more about that. Let's see here. RP Studio says, can you make a video about photography and what photos you will use? I did make a video about photography a ways back. What I would ask is you go watch that one first. That video did very poorly. When I say poorly is I think it's a good video. It's fine. But it didn't do well on YouTube. So I have like so many things going on. I'm trying to make sure that I'm hitting the broadest spectrum of people and questions. Check that video out. If that still doesn't work for you and you still need more info, look at Peter McKinnon. He does really good product photography. Casper says, what settings do you recommend for prototyping or printing and the finished product on the P1S? The same. It's such a low investment cost between the two. I would say print, do your prototypes, especially if you're doing like a final prototype, as if you would be having a finished product. And that'd be cool. Mario says, in one of your newer videos, do you mention having new bamboo printers? Do you plan to resell your A1s or continue to use them? I'm going to continue to use them. I have one person who has asked if they can buy one off me. And the answer is probably, but probably after Christmas. I've already paid those off a long time ago, and they're like $200 when I got all 4 of my A1 minis. So, and they still print really good, high quality products. Because of that, I want to have them as a backfill, and that's why. I mean, I can keep 4 printers in as backfill when one of these Bamboo P1Ss costs you $800. So it's kind of hard to say, yeah, I should sell all of these when I might need the capacity, hopefully this Christmas, and then also it's like, well, no, I don't have to invest anything more. Perfect. Everyone likes the answers, the way I answer these questions. Okay. Jerkface says, does Etsy punish users for redirecting to Shopify? I don't know. Kind of a black box. If you test it out and you find it does, let us know. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to actually flip over to, let's see here, over to the 3D modeling software, but we're going to keep chatting here. Let me just get this window up because I want to make sure that we can do some of this here. We'll go, ta-da. Nice. All right, I'm not going to be looking at the camera because I have to put things other places, but next question is from you. I'm sorry I can never pronounce your name. Good evening. Welcome. Yes. Yes, I answered the Amazon thing before you got to the stream. Okay. Random Joe Gamer says, can I ask what is the black and green items on your top shelf behind you next to the dice? The black and green items. Oh, those. This are just pouches from Peak Design that fit in my backpack, but I'll load these up when I'm traveling to family and stuff. They used to be more full, but I've been just working in this space so much that I haven't really had them out. But yeah, I've got those just as storage, and then camera gear and some other miscellaneous things. Okay. Let's see here. Yan Yan Pocky says, what are your favorite resources? Who do you follow on YouTube? I follow Adam Savage and at Tested. I like his perspective on things when it comes to like the maker world. I think he just has a really interesting background with Mythbusters, and he's a pretty humble guy, and will give it to you straight. And I feel like he has a really strong moral compass and sticks to that. Like I don't think he allows other people to infiltrate how he behaves, which I think is hard to find, especially online. So yeah, but other people I follow on YouTube, Samson Boat Co. I like sailing a lot. Grew up sailing with my dad and some other big trips, and he rebuilt a sailboat from the keel up. He bought it for $1 and rebuilt the entire boat. It's all wooden, super cool. I just follow like a miscellaneous set of creators, like Colin Furs. I like the bunker he's building. Yeah, just a bunch of random. It's been so long, like I feel like I bounce around. I don't really stick with one person, but like I'll jump on this old Tony every once in a while. Smarter Every Day. I mean, there's a whole bunch. Generally in that kind of sphere, science, making things, and then some video game ones and whatnot to relax. Okay, we're going to get into some modeling here. It is 3:43, so we got a little bit of time. What I want to talk today is about FreeCAD, and the reason I started looking at these 3 modeling softwares, and I did download. Oh, and thank you, John Samcraft. Yes, I mean when it comes to the other people doing this exact same thing, Samcraft is great. Mountain Maker is great. I also follow. Those are the 2 primary guys that I watch. Yeah, there's a larger group of them, but anyway, okay, 3D modeling. So when it comes to 3D modeling, quick rundown, there's kind of two ways. There is a direct modeling, which is like Blender and plasticity. Then there is also parametric modeling that is based off of 2D sketches. Then you apply modifiers like extruding, so like making it a physical form. And everything's dimensional, so you have to tell it what size you want it. You can't really just willy-nilly make it whatever, and I think maybe Fusion 360 you can. Programs I've tried, Fusion 360, Onshape, FreeCAD, Plasticity, Blender, and Shaper 3D. I am not well versed in Fusion 360, Plasticity, or Blender, but the other two I am, FreeCAD and Shaper 3D. When it comes to running a business, I think the most important thing for you to know when looking at 3D modeling software is the price and what it gives you. The reason I decided to spend more time in FreeCAD are because of the compatibility. It is available on all platforms. It is 100% free for all licensing types, including commercial. And the other programs that I would like to try and have wanted to do is Fusion 360. It is not compatible on Linux. It is only compatible on Windows and Mac. It does not run good on Mac, and I have switched over to Linux on my Windows devices because switched over to Linux on my Windows devices because I do not like Windows anymore. They've been bugging me for a long time. So I've been doing everything I can to get away from Windows. Like, I don't know why they constantly shove ads in your face on the desktop of your computer. But anyway, Fusion is cool, except for it costs money for a commercial license. Onshape is cool, except for it costs money for a commercial license. Shaper 3D is cool, except for it costs money for a commercial license. Plasticity is cool. It's a one-time purchase. Blender and FreeCAD are 100% free. So that's what I'd say. Let's dive in and talk about this and parametric drawing and why I think it's cool. So this is something I've been working on this morning and looks fairly simple, but there are some cool things with it. The reason I like parametric software is because it allows you to make edits on the model. And if it's set up correctly, which this just takes practice, and I've been using parametric software for coming up on 2 years now, so it is easier to learn. I will say this: the learning curve on FreeCAD, it takes practice. There are some good tutorials out there now, but what I've done is set up a variable sheet, which you basically just a spreadsheet, and I've assigned these values as variables that I use as my dimensions. So when I'm on this sheet here, let me actually go to Windows and Tile. We can get rid of that. And let's go back to Windows and do Tile. Move these over. Okay. So this model is based on sketches. So if you're like, I know some of you understand this, but let's just go through some of it. So the very first thing I did was I created a body and then I drew this sketch right here. It's a simple rectangle. It's 102 millimeters by 125 millimeters. But it's not just that, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Then from there, I extruded it and I made it into a rectangle. Once it was a rectangle, I went through and I drew another sketch on top of this face that was 5 millimeters by 92 millimeters, and then I made that a pocket. And the pocket in this case went all the way through. So you can see how each step of the modeling process, so far it's similar to direct modeling. You could do this in direct modeling or Blender or stuff. You know, one thing at a time. I want this. Now, my whole thing, again, we're kind of making this guy right here. I need a whole bunch of these. So I need to figure out how many of those I want. And this is where it's helpful to use parametric. I am designing this in a way, and after designing the first prototype, I kind of want a whole bunch of these that are all different types. So I'm going to design something and design it in a way that all of those types can be made without having to redo the model each time. So now that I can go here let's say we only want 6 books instead. I can change that number and bam, ignore this piece. I'm still working on that bottom part, so we'll just do that. You can see the model has fully updated. All of the parameters have changed, and now I have a fully functional, model that works with only 6 books. So that's pretty sweet. Now let's say I actually have a different size journal than this one, and I would like to make it work with those journals. I can go in here and change the depth. Let's say it's actually 10 millimeters wide, and I need to make that 10 millimeters. Can let that update, and now it's 10. So this is the power of parametric drawing that I think makes it 100% worth the extra effort and investment to learn this type of design. This takes a little bit more prep work. So for example, even something as simple as the footprint here. What you're seeing is 95, which you can see is not any of these parameters. And what this is doing is it's actually pulling a function. And this says, so if you're not into math, it's actually really simple math, but don't zone out just yet. Bear with me. What this is looking at is it's saying, take the depth, so that is currently 10, so that's like the width of the book, and plus the spacing, so 15. So for each book and spacing, we want to have 10 plus 5. Let me back out of here so I can explain it. So 10 plus 5, and that gives us from the edge here over to the edge here. And then we need to repeat that. So it will multiply that by the number of books. And then at the very end, we need to add on spacing one more time. So being able to use those variables, which again are very simple math operations, using these words that reference these numbers, allow me to manipulate my drawings. So when I do designs, this is why I use parametric software. This is a fairly simple design, and I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. And I guess I don't see any questions on all that. So either everybody left because of how dull and boring it is, or you guys are just so blown away by the power of parametric software that you are all speechless. That is what I would say. But one other thing is the type of modeling you're getting into. You really want to think about if you're more into functional parts that need dimensionally accurate items for 3D printing, or if you're doing like fun, more like organic shapes. If you're doing the fun organic shapes, use something like Blender or plasticity, and you can do that. So let me go ahead and actually start a new one so we can just kind of explain some of this real time. So I just started a new drawing. Let's see how far we can get with the time. We've got a few minutes left. So everything here is done with these work benches, which is a little different. I don't think it's the most intuitive, I'll be really honest. There's some things about this program that are not intuitive. I learned on Onshape because it was free, but I didn't want to pay for the commercial license. So I knew what to look for. So if I couldn't find the ability to make a sketch or any of that stuff, then I could Google, where do I find that? But let's see here. Ahmed, you said, can I use parametric modeling in Shaper 3D? The answer is yes. Actually, they do have parametric modeling. It is not as rigid as this. With the parametric modeling in Shaper 3D, you're actually able to do things to the model that break previous parametric features that you've made. In this software, it's very rigid. If you try to do something that will break a previous sketch that you've made, it just flat out won't work. So I think that's where the learning curve with this is tough, is because you have to know and you have to be more precise with your modeling than in Shaper 3D. Shaper 3D is kind of like a blend between the two. The reason I am getting into FreeCAD though is Shaper 3D is, again, not available on Linux, so I can only use it on the Mac, which is fine. And I'm kind of looking for ways like, if this is really good, if this software is really good, then I'm just gonna, it's free, right? So it might be beneficial to just move over to this and not have to pay. So that's kind of something I'm looking into. Anyway, so we've got our sketch here. Let's go ahead and press D. We can assign some dimensions. We'll make this 60, and we'll make this 50. Let's just kind of show you really quick. I actually want one of this to be a variable so we can demonstrate this a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and click this icon that I can't find. I can find it when I leave the sketch. Let me close out the sketch. We can click this and we'll call it test variable. Or we'll call it var for variable, or I don't know. We'll do variable and then we'll make it 50. Now we'll go back into that sketch, we'll double click it, and we'll actually go here, click the little FX button and do var set dot length. We'll click OK. Now that that is done and we closed, and right here you notice it says fully constrained. That's important. If you're doing tutorials, you'll see that that's important. I don't need to go into it right now. I can click pad, which is extrude, and then I can say, let's go ahead and do that by 25. Okay, cool. We have our little box. That's neat. Now, oops, I made a mistake. I want to go back and change this to actually 40. Look at that. I can go back and change it automatically, adjust it for me. So that's cool. Now we can kind of, let's do a chamfer on this edge. And I actually do need to move this a little bit. I will do a 5 millimeter chamfer. And then let's go to the back sides here. Click on those. We'll do fillet. And we'll do 10 here. So that's cool. And then we'll do a new sketch on the top. And then we can, let's just grab right here, this button is called create external geometry, and allows us to reference an edge from a different part. That'd be pretty cool. And then you can go in here and, like, again, I'm just doing this all freehand to kind of show you guys. Now we need to constrain it. Let's go from the corner to here, and we'll make this out 20. And then we'll dimension from here to here. Let's do that by another 20. So that is constrained, and then we'll go from here to here and make that 30. So you can see all the lines are green. That means all the lines are fully constrained. Also says it over here. We can close out. Let's do pocket, and let's do it to 15. And then let's grab this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. We'll do a fillet, and we'll do 3. Grab that. We'll do a chamfer. Oh, and look at that. Interesting. So there are some things that are a little wonky. That's weird. Let's see what happens here. Command not done. So it does not want to do that, which is fine. So we're going to leave that for now. Let's try this one. That one works. So you can see how quick it is to make any of these things. And once you know the buttons, obviously there's a learning curve, but I think this kind of gives an interesting demonstration. And then now you can go back into any of these, and you can change any of these values. So if you want this to actually be 30 over, you can do that. And when you close out the sketch, oh, is it not gonna? It's because the chamfer didn't work, the fillet. So let's actually go back and change that to 25. So this is what I mean by it won't work if it breaks the operation. But you can see we moved it over. So there is some finessing with this, but I think for people who are using it more for like mechanical or, again, functional printing, parametric software is going to be just really better for you, and FreeCAD is free and it works on all platforms. So I really recommend testing it out. I'm going to be practicing it on it more so that I can help answer questions from the community as you know, I get better at it and as more people continue to try it. So that will be cool. But I thought it would be worthwhile to learn, because I know a lot of people in my community are not in a position to just go out and spend whatever money they want on these programs. And I think you know, FreeCAD, for as many quirks as it has that I've found so far, I barely scratched the surface on what's possible. You can do full assemblies. You can do, you know, assemble things in a way that you can then like test the movement of the parts and how they work, like hinges and stuff. So I think that's all really, really valuable, and again, is accessible to everybody. So now between, as long as you have access to a computer, you can test out FreeCAD. And then as long as you have access to a phone and a computer, you can upload to Etsy and stuff. So I'm really trying to show, like, these are the ways to save some money, get started, and then in the grand scheme of things, if you blow up and you make a product that really sells well, and you're making 6 figures a year off your business, and you want to move into a program that costs $500 a year, it won't be a big deal at that point. But this will allow you to learn what's important and get started. I might feature plasticity or Blender in a future as I get better at those tools. I've only got 30 days on plasticity right now, but yeah, we'll check it out. Let me see if there's any other questions here. Chris, I want to make sure I get it right. It says, Christian says, hey everyone, just wanted to brag a little. I sold my very first product. It's a simple 150 by 150 adhesive sign with a logo and a room number. I'm so happy the customer ordered 5 pieces right away. That's fantastic. Congratulations. It's super, super cool. It always feels so good to get that first sale. Let's see here. Let's see if there's any other questions. Thank you, Rufo. Glad you liked the videos. John, yeah, Blender's great also, but I've been trying the parametric features. There's a plugin for parametric on Blender, and I'll tell you what, it's not as good. It just does not meet the standards of a parametric software, even though it's there. Maybe I need more practice on it, but it's not nearly as intuitive coming from someone who's worked in parametric for the last couple of years. It just doesn't feel the same. And then let's see here. How long? Last question is, Yan Pocky, how long have you been at this? On the modeling, it's been about 2 years for the modeling, and I just started learning FreeCAD less than a month ago, maybe like a week, 2 weeks ago. So, but it has a lot of overlap with what I've learned for a while. But anyway, that's all I've got time for. I'm actually over time. I have a family to go get to. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for being patient on the YouTube videos. It's just been kind of an off week. I'm sure there'll be a discussion point in my video that will come out. But yeah, things are kind of just slow at the beginning of this month, but that means time to learn, right? If things are slow, take my own advice, Chris, and start actually doing some learnings, which is FreeCAD and some of these other tools. But I will be back on live stream for sure next week, so be here or be square. And yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to jump in chat. Feel free to check out my Patreon. I've got some things in there, and you can ask me questions in that space. But all right, everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will talk to everybody next week. See ya.